All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Cup Chasers podcast. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Manchester City are the FA Cup champions once again this season. That's two down. There's only one more to go in the treble. And if you're excited about that, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and get the notification bell on. We'll be talking about City's treble win very, very soon, but we'll definitely get into that. However, the FA Cup, the Ilkay Gundogan show. I want to start it off with Gundogan by asking you, Lewis, is he what's he done for his name, for his legacy? Is he in there with some of the Premier League greats, or is he still just a City great? Because he's got the trophy case. Maybe not the Paul Scholes 11 titles, but his trophy case is similar to Lampard. If he lifts the Champions League trophy, is he one of the greatest Premier League midfielders?
I mean, is he? Okay. I would say he's a city legend, even though to people, City don't have any legends, so it is what it is.
Right,
but
maybe.
But the thing about him is if you think about he's been there for I think 7 or 8 years. He was Pep's first signing, and a lot of people were really like, "Why are you signing this guy?" Because he was injured when he came. He was on crutches. He actually gave a quote today about when he first came to the team. He was on crutches, and he still had like 4 months of rehab to go before he could even play. And then when he played, he was. You saw the potential, but he was such a weird match because De Bruyne was there. And you're like, well, how does he play next to De Bruyne? And the consensus was they can't play together because at that time you would say they probably played similarly. And David Silva was there too. So you're like, David Silva was there, Kevin De Bruyne is there, Yaya Toure was there at the time. Where's this guy supposed to go? Yeah, where's this guy supposed to go? And so, looking at that, in the last 2 seasons, I mean 3 really, 3 years ago, he was scoring a bunch of goals. He was
Mr. De Bruyne went out and he scored 17 goals.
He was Mr. Whippy. He was scoring free kicks. He was scoring in open play. He was scoring, and so he scored goals where he needed to score. The next year, De Bruyne was there, and he's the 3-2 guy, final day, right? And then this year, he's been clutch for several games, and you look at it, and he's undroppable in the form he's in. He's undroppable. But then you there was a period early in the season where we wondered, well, can he play by himself, or does De Bruyne have to be in the game with him? Because while he's not creative, he's not De Bruyne creative. And so he was being criticized or sort of gauged compared to Kevin De Bruyne, which kind of unfair. And because if you think early season, they were questioning, they were like, why is the Gundogan not playing the ball to Haaland? De Bruyne was the only one playing it to him. And so he wouldn't play anything through to him. There was no crosses. And you're like, well, what is he doing? But if you just take the last 3 years in the Premier League, where he won the title 3 years and he was the captain in the last one, is he a Premier League legend? I don't know. I mean, I don't want recency bias to affect that. I mean, I feel like I would be unable to answer that without maybe 3 years past this moment to answer it correctly. Because the Scholes these guys stayed in their teams for like ever.
It's a longevity thing.
And so that's where it comes from. Is he a City legend? Yeah, stamp. That's done.
Should he have a statue?
I'll answer that question on Sunday.
Fair enough.
On Sunday.
I was going to say, just to kind of carry on what Lewis was saying, the thing about Gundogan, if I remember correctly, his injury at Dortmund made some people think that he was done, like completely done. And so when that transfer happened, it was like, what? Why? Like,
what are they doing?
That's not somebody you want. He may not have ever play for you. And I want to say that also he when did y'all bring him on?
It was for Pep's first year, so it had to be 8 years ago. It had to be 8 years ago. So what? 15?
15? Okay.
15.
Okay. So that was after the World Cup in Brazil,
Yeah.
right? So he had that. He was coming off of that because I remember him and Emery Sean
Was he in
got
that German squad?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It got absolutely just I'm sorry, they didn't. I got it wrong. They looked really
They
good, but then he
blitzed.
got
Yeah.
injured.
Yeah.
He got injured.
They blitzed.
Yeah, they blitzed. They blitzed. Um, he got injured, and it was one of those things to where you just thought he was going to kind of fall by the wayside. So, I mean, credit to City first off purchasing someone who was coming off such a major injury, but two, Pep's developed him into something that is like, okay, we're actually having this discussion. And the thing is you can tell when he doesn't play, and I think that's the mark of you know talking about is this guy a legend? Is it this, that, and the other? Once you start taking him out of the game, just like with KDB, we see that City sometimes has trouble breaking down teams without KDB. Same thing happens with Gundogan. He pull him out. Yeah, the midfield's still good, but you can tell that it is missing something. And it's hard to replicate what he does. So I think it's a fair question. I think it's a fair discussion. I wouldn't say that he's a legend yet, but like Lewis said, if he goes and scores the winner in the FA or the Champions League final, what do you do at that point?
Well, I think your point about longevity is spot on because greatness can be defined as being awesome consistently for a long time. That's what the Lampards of the world were about. They season in, season out, they were the guy. And that's the issue with this conversation because Gundogan's not really the guy. He's clutch. He's got the clutch gene, especially in recent years. But like when you look at this City team, like it's KDB. Like he's who he's competing with makes it kind of tough.
I thought it was interesting how this game kind of solidified him staying, I want to say.
Yeah, I was salivating when Lewis was like, Gundogan might come to Arsenal.
And right after this game, I saw like 3 or 4 things saying like, "Oh, he's offering an extension. He's staying." Yeah, I thought this was a good showcase for him, though.
Absolutely. I mean, what was
He's
it?
a difference maker right now.
15 seconds in, Ortega hits the long ball.
Yep.
Holland wins the header. De Bruyne goes up for the 50-50, and it's in the back of the net off the next touch. The video you sent, X, was absolutely hysterical.
Absolutely
Taxon on
I
Facebook.
loved it.
The guy's completely right, though. They didn't like. How do you 15 seconds
mark the
in
runner.
not track Gundogan? How do you not? And then and it's not even about Gundogan at that point. It's about the fact that any one of them could have done that.
It was just who it fell to, yeah, or
So
who
why
was
are
there.
you not
Yeah.
picking up your man 10 seconds into the game?
Yep.
Come on. I actually thought that United's lineup was, what they probably their best under the circumstances. A couple injuries, obviously. Varane was back, but in practice, though, like the way their formation and their tactics worked out, left them completely so vulnerable because Bruno would drift into all kinds of crazy positions. Like he was starting at the right forward, but he come back to the left D to pick up the ball, the left side of the field, and either Rashford or Sancho were supposed to shift over, but in transition, there was so much space because Bruno was so far out of space. But other than that, like their tactics were just, straight up Jose. Let's park this bus, try to get a couple on the counter, and Ten Hag's statement about saying we were the only team that could come back is laughably ridiculous.
Laughably ridiculous.
They brought the Old Trafford refs. I'll give you that. They did bring the Old Trafford refs in. And Lewis, I know you don't really like to text during the game, but I was fuming a little bit at halftime for you. Like, I was like, man, I wanted to see a good game. I wanted to see a competitive game. First of all, there's one team in this. And second of all, oh, we came back. We fought back off a ridiculous handball.
Yeah.
And it's a problem with the law. I think it's
Right.
fair to say. It's a problem
Right.
with the law. And
Right.
the way we've seen handballs called this season, okay.
Yeah.
This season, okay.
It's the way, yeah, exactly. It's the wording in
It's
how
awful.
it's how
This
it's
is
how it's
ridiculous.
put in the book. Yeah, it's
Because
because his hands above his head.
when you jump, your arms come up.
You lift.
Natural position. His
Right.
head is spinning. His head is turning with the ball. He doesn't even know what's going on.
But it's because it's over his shoulder. Yeah.
You know, man, I watched that play, and Grealish. Here's why. And yes, I actually almost never text or talk to anyone during the game. Almost never. It could be any game. I generally don't talk during games. But when I watched it live and then I saw it, and then they stopped the play at the most random spot to call the handball. I'm like, why would you stop it right there? So that was the first thing. I'm like, what did he call it? And so then they said they're going to VAR, and I'm like, what are they going to VAR for?
Nothing happened. Yeah.
And so then when they showed it, literally the ball went over his head. He's looking, and his body is turning, and and he can't help but his arm beat because he's turning, and they called a handball. And I'm like, there's no way you're calling a handball for that. I'm like, they didn't even earn that. Like, they didn't even earn that. So at that point, and so what annoys me, but I told you guys already that annoys me anyways, is the commentators immediately shifted and said, United are in the game. And I'm like, what game are you watching? Like, literally, they wouldn't have had a goal at all if it wasn't for that one. What are we talking about? And so then they was like, well, Ortega has conceded a goal. I'm like, yeah, but did he? But did he? And at that point, I was like, you know what? Just get the second goal.
Yeah,
because
that's the most ridiculous penalty I've ever seen, too. Like,
and that was after Casemiro stepped all through Akanji's foot, and they didn't give him a card or anything. I was like, what is this?
He got the foul called against Akanji.
I know.
After it should have been. But what was so crazy? VAR did a red card check. VAR does a red card check and then awards United the free kick.
I was confused. Casemiro literally dove. He stepped on the man's foot and then acted like he got shot. I was like, you know what? At this point, I don't have anything to say. I didn't have anything to say then.
What do you like? How do you respond to that? The man literally, there's a red card check. And you still give them the free kick? You couldn't stop the play 37 seconds later like you did for United's penalty?
Yeah.
To take a look at this again? Like, what? I was shocked. And you're right, Lewis. At halftime, I muted the...
I always listen to it.
I didn't even
and
watch
the reason I listen to it is because, sometimes I do recognize I have some bias, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're right. But in this one, I'm like, they were like, United have turned the tables and they've taken all the momentum. I'm like, what are you talking? What? Where? And the funny thing is that, and I sometimes switch from English to Spanish so I can hear the Spanish commentary, and they was doing it there too. I'm like, they really don't want City to win this game. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just watch the game in silence now. Now it's funny because I was out, and so I actually don't even talk during games. Like, I don't talk to anyone during games, even if like you're in person with me. I don't say anything. And so where I was, the people were just kind of looking at me, and I was just silent I was ticked. And the handball, I was fine with it because I'm like, okay, whatever. But then it was the commentary that followed it, like they had done something. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm never about a bash a team, but man, I wish we scored 6 on them. I really wished, because I'm like, this is ridiculous now. It's I mean, yes, they're united. I respect the history, because while history, the whole history FC trope is boring to me, I do respect what they've accomplished. I have never not respected it. Matter of fact, I don't think there's anyone who, a City fan, a Chelsea fan, the new money teams, I don't think anyone has not ever disrespected what these teams have done historically. But we can't live in the past.
Me, I hate United. I don't care what they did historically.
Well, but see, that's a feeling as opposed to understanding their history. Like, you can't take away what they've done.
No. They have respect. You have respect.
My man got knighted.
The thing about it is, though,
my man got knighted.
The History FC merchants, don't really think about the fact that, as Ten Hag says, eras come to an end. That era is long gone. They got one trophy in 8 years, and it's a tin pot, no one cares cup, where they
won the Europa with Jose. They won the Europa and the FA Cup with Jose.
In the last 8 years?
Yeah, he was the last person to win there. Because after he left, and they shouldn't have fired him, even though I got why they did. He was the last. They didn't win it.
It's not the same team. And Ten Hag's not even playing the style he played at Ajax. It's straight up, let's sit back and counter. I mean, when he brought on the subs after y'all had scored the second goal, speaking of the second goal, like, what? It goes off Gundogan's shin and bounces twice before it goes in the goal. What are you doing, De Gea? Okay, he was unsided by Varane or whatever, but
it looked like it hit his hand too to go in the goal.
It did. De Gea got a hand on it. He did get a hand on
it. That's the golden glove of the Farmers League right there, my friends.
We are the farmers.
It's funny because I remember asking you all the question. I'm like, who's the cup keeper? Because like De Gea literally plays all the games.
De Gea is the keeper.
Isn't Jack Butland their second?
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm Jack Butland, there's no way I stay there again. No way. I mean, I'm not gonna play any games.
Yeah.
After the way De Gea has been.
Right.
Talk about somebody that fell off. Jack Butland.
Yeah.
He was
a
hot commodity there for a while.
Yeah.
Now he can't get a game.
Right.
But that's because he's at United. He
knows
that he's one of these promoted teams. He starts right away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Luton Town are they're hovering. They're ready to make a move.
They're ready.
But I didn't even think. Okay, Garnacho was decent.
He was. He was good.
When he came on. But y'all were lulled to sleep by how dominant you were in the game, and it took their fourth sub, I think, after they shook everything up, put Weghorst in the tin. Y'all know how I feel about that. And Garnacho brought some energy, brought a little bit of life to the end of the game. But y'all were asleep because you locked them down after the second goal, and they didn't offer much.
In addition to that, the other thing and it's funny because once City scores, then the commentators just flip back because sort of the inevitability of it. So then they get rid of the other tropes they follow. But they were like, yeah, well, this team, and it's a fair point. They said this team, the group that started, hadn't played together in 2 weeks as a unit. So they looked rusty at points, and they needed that game, which I hate to put it like that, but it kind of was a training session for them, them to kind of get themselves back, because they needed that game before this game for Saturday, and they needed all those kinks in there, all of them, and I appreciated it. That's where the penalty, which I still believe was garbage, but I guess letter of the law, then it is what it is. That was good because I needed United to score. Not because they needed to score, but because they needed to have some adversity in the game. Because they didn't have to play back from anything. Because the week before, I mean, okay, they lost the game, but it was like whatever. But they didn't have. There was no need to play back.
Right.
And this one, they needed to play back, come back, get a goal. You need to feel that urgency, and that group together did it. And so it was good to see that. And all respect to the opponent. The opponent did what they were supposed to do. But at when the clock ended and the whistle blew, I'll take the ribbons on the trophy.
Absolutely. And I thought it was cool to see Pep dancing with the team. They had the camera right in his face, and he like said nah and went over and got in the huddle and was bouncing. I thought that was pretty cool. You can see that he's even though he's obviously ultra serious, I would imagine most of the time, he still celebrates it.
You can cut it.
Still gets in there and is knows how big it is, even though this was the most. When you look at it, it's like, okay, this FA Cup is probably the easiest of the 3 trophies y'all are going to get this season. Obviously, supposing you win the Champions League. But it was still like a big one, still a big part of the puzzle. And as Holland said, that's 2 down, 1 more to go.